Have you been trying to write your college admissions essay? Maybe you're working on a personal statement, maybe you're applying to medical school, maybe you're just trying to write an essay on Macbeth. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about 5 ways that you can crush that freeze of your mind. If you'd like to read these tips instead of watch, remember there's always a blog in the description of this video. So my first tip is for you to turn on the faucet. What do I mean by that? Well, imagine that you're in a bathroom and you turn on the water. And sometimes when you turn on that water, guess what? It's cold, it's not warm yet. And so as writers, oftentimes when we turn on that faucet, it's cold and we turn it off. And then we run away and we're like, I have writer's block. So that's my first tip for overcoming writer's block is let it go, let it flow, and write. And I don't care if your first draft is just terrible. You have full permission to write something absolutely awful and terrible. Because if you don't start writing, oftentimes you're never going to get to that warm, wonderful, beautiful place that you're trying to get. My second tip is rinse and repeat. Don't be afraid to write multiple drafts. I know it's annoying, I know it's frustrating, but you know what's more annoying and frustrating? Feeling like you have nothing on the page, people. Feeling stressed out and going crazy. You're probably wasting more time on your stress watching YouTube videos like this than if you just stopped and just started writing stuff, even if it was crappy. Just go, and it's okay. I'm telling you right now, you do not have to be a genius as you start to write. If you write, more will come. If you write another idea, a better idea will come. Writing is rewriting. Writing is a process, and you just got to do it. And I know you can. So if you're wondering who I am, like who is this lady talking to me? My name is Brooke. I coach students through the college admissions essay writing process for over a decade and a half. I also coach SAT and ACT prep. We've got a couple of online courses for the SAT and the ACT. We've got online essay writing classes and private coaching at SupertutorTV.com/essay. So definitely check out the other things that we have going on here. Number 3, find inspiration. So sometimes when I'm stuck, what I like to do is find creative inspiration. What does that look like? Well, if you're trying to write an op-ed or a newspaper article, go and look in the newspaper and find other op-eds. Even if you're trying to write a college essay, you might look at some op-eds. Op-eds are really cool because they're like opinion pieces, if you were wondering what an op-ed is. So you can go to places like the Atlantic Monthly, the New York Times, and read some of these opinion papers because they're personal voice essays, right? If you're trying to figure out what to write in your Hamlet essay, look for some literary criticism on Hamlet and let that kind of inspire you. What do they do that you can do a little bit of? Figure out how can you do it your way and better. And if you're working on your college admissions essay, we'll put links in the blog for this video to some example essays that you can read so that you have some inspiration for what a great college admissions essay looks like. Number 4, create easier tasks and questions. So sometimes the reason that we get writer's block is that we're trying to break off a really daunting challenge and it feels too open-ended and too big. So for example, if I have an essay prompt on what's your most embarrassing moment, rather than try to figure out the most embarrassing moment in my entire life, which feels like a really daunting task because I'm not even sure what that is, I say, what was the most embarrassing thing that happened today? What's the most embarrassing thing that happened to me this month, this year, this summer, last January, okay? When you put limitations on what it is you're trying to brainstorm, suddenly, hey, I didn't get all those categories, but I have one from yesterday of something that kind of embarrassed me and something that made me feel kind of awkward. And it was kind of weird moment, right? But I just remembered that. And wow, that is something I could write about. Is it the best thing to write about? No, but at least, you know, if you've got a school paper due tomorrow, you could write about it. You have something to write about, right? It's a start. So you can also create easier tasks and questions if you have like a big prompt on the Common App, right? Just focus on one little piece. So it might be a prompt that says, if you have a challenge you've overcome, a this you've done, a whatever, you might narrow the scope of that. You might say, well, one thing I want to talk about because I want to share with schools is my family, because my family is really important to me. So then you can narrow the scope of what you're going to imagine. And then you can say, okay, what's a time when I felt like a failure in my family? So then you can get even more specific. What's a time when I feel like I disappointed my father, right? So you can get specific, and make your task more specific than the open-ended question that you might be dealing with. The other way to create easier tasks and questions is if you have a prompt, break that prompt into pieces, right? Oftentimes when we're writing college essays, the prompt might be kind of really long. there might be multiple questions, so start with just one little piece of the question. Finally, my last tip, number 5, is play detective. What do detectives always work off of? Clues. So if you want great writing, you might start with gathering together the clues that are going to help you figure out how to write what it is that you want to write. When you're doing this in English class and you're writing, about Wuthering Heights or a Great Expectations or whatever book you're reading, this is pretty easy to find clues because you can just open your book and pick a character and start to find ways that memory intersects with them by going through the book and digging up all the details and writing them down on index cards, right? But when it's your life, it's sometimes a little bit harder because you feel like you need to write at the same time as you dig up the clues. And in fact, what I can say is if you just start digging up the clues first, then it's going to make it easier to write because you know what you're writing about. So how do we dig up clues? One way that you might do that is brainstorm out all of your most significant memories. And don't worry about editing at this point. It's just literally laying out all the puzzle pieces on the table. You're not going to use all of them to build what's your puzzle, but you can just start to get all of those out there. Other ways to find clues that can help you assemble a good story is to jog your memory through your notes, through your photos, right? And your camera, go through your photo stream. And that will help you remember what happened this last year and where were you and what were you doing. And that can be one way. Go through your emails. Sometimes emails are a great way to jog your memory. Sometimes we tell our friends through our posts, through our text messages, right? But we have like digital artifacts of our lives. So if you can't remember something interesting about yourself, you can play detective, get out your phone, go through your text messages with your best friend or your brother or your mom. And a lot of it's going to be boring, but then maybe you'll remember something. But digging up the clues first, putting all those puzzle pieces on the table, and it's okay to just be in this open arm kind of position, catching all the clues. You don't have to sort through the clues at first. Just get them out, right? Get them out of your brain. Go into the messy closet of your mind and pull all the stuff out and put it out on the floor and see what you've got to work with. And that's going to help you overcome this writer's block so much more quickly than just sitting there and worrying, okay? So there you go, you guys. If you're looking for help again with your college essays, you can check us out at supertutortv.com/essay. We also have private tutors available, supertutortv.com/tutoring if you need anything in that regard. And we have lots of test prep options. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go write. Stop watching YouTube, and I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.